Okay, today we are going to continue our discussion on VPC. We earlier saw how to create a VPC within a particular availability zone. We saw how to create subnets. We saw how to create security groups and apply it to our subnets. And we also saw how to restrict internet access to certain instances and also provide them using a NAT gateway. So this is all happening in one VPC. Say for example, let us show me a particularly rough idea of what is happening in the real world. We saw a theoretical scenario. Now in real world what happens is your data center is spread across your world. Say in this example what I'm showing is there is a data center or there is an VPC in an US region, let us say US West, and you also have a data center in the Europe region. It can be Frankfurt or London, just for say we have one in Europe. Then how do you connect these two instances to talk to each other? There are employees in both these data centers and they need to share data or information. So how do I get both of my data centers working together? This is where the concept of VPC pairing comes into picture. Amazon provides this service along with your other VPC features. What it nothing does is it makes both these VPCs talk to each other without costly routing setup or internet gateways or hardware that you need to invest on your data center or anything like that. If both your VPCs are in Amazon cloud, that is both your instances are in Amazon cloud, all you need to do is pair this VPCs using the VPC dashboard, and once you get the dashboard, once you get the peering up and running, then there is no additional setup required. The whole logic looks like in 3 steps. We'll see the 3 steps in a short while. Why people mostly use that is these are some of the common use cases that people use VPC pairing. Probably you can have a monitoring and logging server in one data center, whereas your production, dev, test is spread all across the world, but you have your monitoring and logging happening in one central place. So in those cases, this kind of VPC pairing helps. And also another use case is your corporate Active Directory or your LDAP server will be in one place. Or sometimes it is replicated as well by having different domains and forests. But quite often it is in a single Active Directory, and from there authentication and authorization happens to all the other servers. And also you can do remote administration and scanning as well. When I say scanning, it is for having performance health checks and also for vulnerabilities, and those kind of scanning is possible from one place to all the other places. The right hand side is a pictorial representation, but if you clearly and cleverly notice, none of the IPs are overlapping. Each of the VPCs is having a unique IP range. That is very important here, because when you're trying to pair two VPCs or two group of servers, when you're trying to connect in conventional or traditional technologies also, you cannot have same IP addresses on both the places. Then your routing becomes in a loop and your router fails. So when you're trying to do a VPC pairing, you should always remember that you cannot have overlapping IP addresses. It can be your on-premise data center, it can be your AWS data center, but your IPs should not overlap. That is one fundamental requirement for VPC pairing. And also remember, I keep stressing this point, when you're choosing an IP address, choose it carefully. If you choose the biggest IP address range, for example 10.0.0.0/16, in the same region, if you try to create one more VPC, you have already covered all the IP range in 10 series. So you will have to move to 192 series or 172 series. So that is why the question of choosing the VPC carefully comes into the picture. If you want to try to do VPC pairing, choose a 254 subnet and try to do pairing with those two subnets. I'll just show you an example in a short while, so we will understand that. So how this works is in a very simple way I have shown you here. Let us say there are two subnet ranges, one is in 172 series, another one is in the 10 series on the right hand side. And I want to connect my instances from the left hand side to right hand side. So what I do, this is my requirement. I want to allow my orange security group, that is those group of instances, talk to my blue security group instances. So what I do is there is something called an initiate peering request. I go to my console and initiate the request to my target VPC. So once the target VPC gets the request, the target VPC can accept it or reject it. Now you can ask me the question, how I should I accept and request in my own account? Why can't it take it automatically and remove this extra step? The reason is sometimes you want to pair your account with some third party also. You might have a client, you might have a vendor, you might want to have a client partner working with your instances. So in those cases, if they have an AWS account, you can pair your resources with their account. In other words, cross-account VPC pairing is also possible. So let us say Mr. Strujan or analyst is setting up a VPC and he wants to talk to servers in my VPC. We both can do a VPC pairing and I can initiate the request and he can accept it and both our instances can work together smoothly. Only one condition is, as you can see at the top, the IP addresses should not be overlapping. So that is how the VPC pairing works. That is one additional step. As usually, you need to tell the router where you need to send the traffic for my destination. For example, the 10 dot series, this entire range, I'm saying if the traffic is destined for this IP range, then send it to my VPC pairing router. That is what it means. I will just show you now. We'll just go ahead and create two VPCs. I'm going to log into my console. I have deleted all my VPCs that I have created yesterday. I have removed all the instances. So let us see how quickly I can set up two different VPCs in Mumbai region only and do a pairing. I'm not going to use the wizard. I'm going to do it in a very conventional way. I'm going to create a VPC. I'm going to call this one VPC1 for easier understanding. And I'm going to use a range something like this now. 81.1.0/24. So /24 will give me 256 IP addresses. I'm not creating a bigger range so that I don't overlap with anything else. I'm going to go ahead and create a subnet. It is VPC1. Will it pick it up? Oh, I did not name my VPC. I'm going to name my VPC. Oh, it is there. Okay. Okay, it is listed here, VPC1. I'm going to say VPC1 subnet. I'm going to give it 1A 10.81.0.128. I'm just going to use half of that. So there is nothing else to be made. I have created one VPC and one subnet. I'm going to just allow port 22 so that I can start an instance and connect to it. I'm just going to check which one is VPC1. This one is VPC1. I always allow HTTP also, so in case I want to check something from the internet, I can start a web server and check it out. It is not mandatory or necessary for you guys to do it that way. I like to add a HTTP server so that I can check it from the browser without logging into the SSH console. I'm just going to attach internet gateway also to my VPC. Create one first. So internet gateway for VPC 1. I'm going to attach it to my VPC now. So it automatically picks up VPC 1 here. So going to say yes, attach. And if you remember, I forgot to enable my DNS host names. So I'm going to choose my VPC1. I'm going to enable DNS host names. So that is also done. So we have created our VPC, we have created our subnets, we have created our internet gateways and security group also. Just allow the routing table to send internet traffic to gateway. So by default, if you remember, I don't touch the main route that is always created by the console itself. I mean, you can do that, but I always create a custom routing table. VPC1 route table. Go ahead, create it. I'm going to say internet traffic goes to my gateway here, and I'm going to associate my subnet. As of now, my subnet is not associated with anything except for the default main one. I'm going to say this is associated with my subnet now. So what we have done is, if I want to go back to my presentation quickly without hopefully confusing anybody. So what I've basically done is something like this. I have chosen one VPC range and I have chosen one availability zone, and just imagine that I have created only a public subnet and I have not created a private subnet. So I'm going to do the entire setup for another IP range for another VPC. So I'm going to name that VPC as VPC2 and set it up. So I'm going to go to your VPCs, create another VPC, call it VPC2, and I'm going to name this range as 10.81.2.0/24. I'm going to say yes, create. Okay, let us enable the DNS host names. Go to subnets. As of now, no subnets here, good. I'm going to say VPC2 subnet. I'm going to choose B here. 10.81.2.128/25. This will give me 128 IP addresses. Did I make a mistake anywhere? Oh, I'm sorry, I need to choose VPC2 here. So now that should work. Because I'm creating a new VPC and my new subnet should be in VPC2. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and create my internet gateway for my VPC2 also. IGW for VPC2. Let us go ahead. See, it is detached now. Let us go ahead and attach it. And click on attach. Going to go to the routing table. I'm just going to filter for VPC2. As of now, nothing is there. Let us go ahead and create a custom routing table for VPC2. Okay, as usual, I'm going to add internet route also. Before that, let us add the subnet. I'm just going to enable port 22 also for my security group. So here it is already filtered for VPC 1. Let me go ahead and filter for VPC 2. SSH, HTTP, and save. Now two VPCs are ready for me with different IP addresses. Let me go to my VPC dashboard. So I'm just going to type here so only the relevant VPCs are visible. Oh, that is strange. Okay, I'm not able to filter for this two alone. Anyway, the fact is you should be able to. I'm going to filter by. Okay, you see here this is my VPC1 having 10.181.1/24 and the VPC2 is 2/24 and both of them have internet access. Both of them have port 22 and port 80 open, but as of now both cannot talk to each other. I'm just going to show that to you by launching two instances, one in VPC1 and one in VPC2. I'm just going to try and ping each of them. Let us try to ping them with their private IP addresses. That is a possible that because both of them have a public IP address, it is possible that they can reach there. But anyway, I'm going to launch an instance, Red Hat, my favorite, T2 instance. So the first instance is going to sit in VPC1 now. And VPC1 automatically there is only one subnet. As you can see there, as there is only one subnet by default, I cannot choose anything else. So let me choose that. So let us give public IP for only first one. Let me not give it for the second one to remove that problem. So first one is going to have a public IP address. I'm not going to change any of these details. Just go ahead and click on add storage. Nothing here. I'm going to add a name tag which says VPC1 instance. I'm going to choose security group. I'm going to choose the custom one that I created just now, which allows port 22 and 80 traffic. Click on review and launch. And remember, yesterday I told you I was showing off the public key while I was recording the video, so I had to delete that key and I'm using a different key now. So training admin key, I'm just going to go ahead and just check whether I have the key locally in my desktop. I'm just going to confirm that point. If that is there, then we are good to launch this, or otherwise I'll create a new key. Okay, I seem to have access to that key. If you want to notice, okay, I seem to have this one, training admin key. Okay, let it be as it is. Let us come back to the console. Okay, let us launch the instance. So you can see it starts with a private IP address, and once it is all the services are up and running, this will be replaced by the EC2 publicly routable domain name. But I just wanted to show you one more thing, guys. While it is coming up to running state, if you scroll down somewhere, the state transition message will be there. like who initiated what action. That kind of information will be presented. If when I'm trying to shut it down or terminate it, this will be say something like user initiated, something like that. I have seen sometimes an exam question based on this. Where do you find the state translation reason and what are the options that what are the different texts that you get there, something like that. So I would implore you to see the reason that comes out whenever you change the state from running to stopped, from stopped to termination. So now it has started running. I'm just going to connect to the server now. Right. Just going to go here, edit session, and change this to this one. Click on OK, double click it. So 10.81.251, that is my IP address now. So you can see the same thing here, 10.81.251. And of course I should be able to ping the internet from this instance. So you should be getting a response here. So let us go ahead and create one more server in my VPC2 now. I'm going to click on this. Here I'm going to choose VPC2. It is refreshing. Okay, as usual, I have only one subnet in VPC2, but it is in availability zone 1B. So I'm going to leave this option as disabled only. That means I will get only a private IP address. I will not get a public routable IP address. So I'm just going to leave all these details as it is. Go ahead, add storage, nothing there. I'm going to add a tag which is going to say VPC2 instance. For this VPC, there's a separate security group. I'm going to choose that. I'm going to review and launch. I'm going to click on launch. Just say training admin key. Yes, I have access to that. And it is launching. So just a question, do you think I will be able to connect to the second instance now from my desktop? Anybody? Okay. Anil says I should be able to connect to my second instance from my desktop. Okay. All I have is a private IP address for my second instance, that is 10.81.234. I'm just going to go ahead and try to put it into my putty now. Not a putty session, this is a different terminal. Mobile XTerm. I'm going to put my IP address here, 10.81.234. And I'm going to check my key as okay. Anil seems to have changed his opinion and says it is private. Okay, I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to double click it and see what happens. So since I did not give any public routable IP address for this server, technically I should not be able to connect to the server also. And if you remember, this server is in 10.181.1 series. This in 10.181.2 series. So I should not be able to ping as well this server. I'm going to try and show that to you. So as of now we have not done VPC pairing. Oh, I made a mistake probably configuring this one then. Oh, IP is correct only. Okay. Okay, I'm going to try and ping and see if I'm getting a response. Oh, I'm sorry. sorry guys, I should put the private instance IP. I'm putting the wrong IP. You see this one, I'm just pinging the local host only instead of pinging the server. If you want, I'm going to clear the screen and going to try it again. So this is server, this one series. So if you see the one octet, one in the third octet, that means it is coming from VPC 1. And if you see a 2 in the third octet, that is, you see a 2 here, that is coming from my second server. So you see the ping is hanging here. Let it hang here. Let us go ahead and create a pairing for our VPC and see what happens to the ping results. So for doing VPC pairing, again I'm heading back to my VPC console and I'm going to select my first VPC one here, and I'm going to choose my options. Choose my options which says pairing option here on the left hand side. I'm in my VPC dashboard. If you scroll down a little bit below NAT gateways, you will have an option or a link which says pairing connections. I'm going to click on that now, and it brings me this dashboard. I'm going to say create pairing connection, and I'm going to name it as VPC1 paired to VPC2, and I'm going to choose VPC1 as a requester. And you see here it's asked whether it is my account or any other account. I'm just going to say my account only, and acceptor is going to be VPC2, and that is it. I'm just going to request a connection here. I'm going to go ahead and click on create VPC pairing. I can still show you until I accept the connection, I will not get a ping response. So it is, the request has been initiated. I'm going to show you the status now. You see here it says pending acceptance. So it is in my account. How do I go ahead and accept it? You select this option or the connection and go in actions. You will see accept request. I'm going to click on accept request, and it is showing me the details saying this is my source and acceptor is you. Do you want to accept it? I'm going to go ahead and click on accept. And next is, as I told you, not just accepting, you need to modify your routing tables for this connection to work. So VPC1 should know where to send the traffic for the new VPC, and likewise I need to create a route in the VPC2 also. So both the VPCs should have a new route. So I'm going to go to my routing tables. You can do it here also, but let me not confuse it that way. Let us do it in the very conventional way. Let us go to routing tables, and it is VPC2 is selected. Let it refresh. VPC2 is by default selected. As you can see, this is the custom routing table I created. It doesn't say main here. That means that it is the custom table I created. I have a route for internet traffic and I have a local route. I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to add another route. So if you remember, my VPC1 range is 181.1.0/24. So because I'm sending from VPC2 to 1, so this is my VPC1 CIDR range, and if I click on this, I will see a new option which says PCX, that is nothing but pairing connection router. So I'm going to choose that, click on save. So we are halfway done for setting up our routing tables. I'm going to change to VPC1 here and find our VPC1 routing table. Choose that, click on edit, add another route. I'm going to change it to 2 because from VPC1 we need to send it to VPC2. Again, choose the pairing connection router. So click on save. It might take into effect any time now. It just takes a while to propagate, and you should be able to see a ping response in a short while. Let it happen. If it is not happening, I'll have to see if I have made any mistakes. Okay, let me try to initiate a connection again. Okay, let me just try and see whether I have made any mistakes here. /24, which is correct. /21, that is also correct. I'm going to go to my VPC pairing connection. It is active and I should be able to see ICMP traffic. Okay, okay, okay. I should have shown you this, guys. What is the problem is in security group I need to enable ICMP traffic for ping to work. There's an option for you're right. I just got that. I, ICMP. I need to here it is ICMP UDP4, and then I need to say enable it for both the sides. I mean, for people who know networking, ping uses the ICMP protocol for doing a health check or get a response. So unless you enable it in your security group, you will not get a response in ping. So I have a prompt here which allows me to connect from one VPC range to another VPC range. Okay, of course, I am in my EC2 VPC1 user key. It will not accept it directly. I need to copy the paste the key and then use that key to work. I'm going to disable my record now as well as pause you guys so that I can copy the key to the server. I don't want to repeat the same thing as I did yesterday. Okay, I just quickly copied over my private key to the server and I should be able to SSH to that server now. VPC2 key EC2-user at 10.81.2. Anybody remember the IP address? 234. 234. It should work now. Okay, we have successfully logged in to the server. This is how you do VPC pairing in real world. I'm sorry about the ping test. I forgot that ICMP is needed and that didn't work. If we want, we can go ahead and test it also with ICMP enabled on both the security groups. I can test it myself. So far is everything good? You guys are able to follow? Just let us go ahead and do a ping for 10.81.251. Oh, voila, it works. Okay, I'm just waiting for responses from other guys. Now that should not be visible. Okay. Okay, Mr. Sujan, Vamsi, Narendra are good. Madhuri, you are able to follow what's happening? Mr. Anand is also good. Great, fine then. I'm not going to waste any more time on this one since you guys are all smart enough to pick it up so fast. So let us go quickly and let us see what else is listed out. VPC pairing. Okay, that is one interesting thing I wanted to show you in VPC pairing. This slide that I have here is called transitive pairing. See, initially I showed you from America to Europe is working. Let us say you can have a number of pairings one-to-one. It is one-to-one mapping, you can say. And you have the Europe paired to India now. So as I shown in the bottom, America to Europe will work and Europe to India will work. But if you're trying to connect from America to India directly, it would not work. This is called a transitive peering, and Amazon does not allow this to happen. So if you think that why it won't work, that is how it has been designed. They don't allow traffic to, they don't allow a VPC to be a transitive hub, so that it just routes the traffic to another VPC. You need to have another peering which goes all the way directly from America to India, from here to here. That is how you need to set it. And the reason I show this is they ask you a similar question in the exam, and also the interview also sometimes they ask you about this, especially if you're going to have for an architecting skills or something like that. The question will be like, America and Europe are already talking, and Europe and India are already talking. I want to copy some files to America, to India. What should I do? I will set up a direct connection, something like that. Options will come, or I don't have to do anything. It will directly work. Those will be your 4 options. So you need to understand that the question is asking about a transitive peering, and you need to tell them that it is not going to work. So that is what about VPC pairing is, and this is the next thing I wanted to show you guys. I don't have a corporate data center as such. I cannot show you a demo, but you need to understand that if you have a corporate data center on your, let us assume it on your left hand side, and you have your Amazon resources on your right hand side, and you want to connect both of them, then we cannot obviously use a VPC pairing here. You need to do something called a direct connect and create a VPN tunnel. What it means is, when I say direct connect, Amazon has tied up with a lot of internet service providers. They will be laying a physical cable from your data center to Amazon data center, and each of these cables will be about 1 Gbps of minimum speed to a maximum of 100 G. I'm sorry, not 100, 10 Gbps. So the minimum is 1 and the max is 10. If you need more bandwidth than this, then you need to lay multiple cables. That is what Amazon tells you. Let us say you want a 50 Gbps of bandwidth, then you lay 5 cables of 10 Gbps. So that is how you connect your corporate data center to your Amazon data center, that is Amazon resources. And direct connect, you don't have much of a configuration. It is just a choice of choice of ISPs provided to you, and you have to negotiate with those ISPs independently. And once they set it up, then it will show up in your console as Amazon Direct Connect. There is not much I can do except that to show that a direct connection option is available in your dashboard. If you go here and choose direct connect, I'm in the services dashboard. I'm searching for a direct connect. So this is how it looks like. So I'm going to say get started with direct connect. I'm going to click on that big blue button, and it is asking me what is my connection, what is my vendor, who is my vendor. So in India, you can see I have only 2 ISPs shortlisted by Amazon for creating my connection. It is a custom defined name. You can give anything to identify it. And as you can see, the port speed is 1 Gbps or 10 Gbps. Let us go to an American region and see what are my vendor options. I'm just going to go ahead and stop this ping if it is happening. Okay, it's stopped. Great. Okay, it is loading. Okay, here you can see, okay, it is still loading for you guys. So you can see there are at least 4 different independent internet service providers that is listed here. You can inquire with any of them. Let us say test connection. So if I go ahead and create it, I will create a direct connection, and they will work with me to lay a cable, and all those things will happen. It is a trigger for a new process that Amazon helps you. So once you create the connection, then you go ahead and create a virtual interface and link these two. I mean, if you have done anything in your corporate data center for VPN, you know that you need to associate with an IP address on inside your data center so that the traffic can flow inside your data center. So that is how it comes in. So you can do pairing additional activities that is available for you once you create your virtual interface. But this is pretty advanced only when you have a very big corporate data center and you want to connect it to your AWS resources. This gets used. Normally, small customers, especially the beginners, like startup, those kind of companies don't use this option because Amazon charges you for your port speed, Amazon charges for bandwidth transfer, and Amazon also charges for keeping the port enabled and open. That is for the port speed. 1 Gbps means there is a speed, and 10 Gbps means there is a different cost associated with that port. And if you need resilience, you will definitely have to create at least 2 direct connections. That means that is quite a lot of cost. Whether you are going to use twice the speed, that does not matter because for resilience you will create 2 and that means you are going to pay twice the cost. And quite often people avoid connecting to using direct connect because of these costs involved. What they do is they set up their own private VPN or some kind of a tunnel to move the data, and once that is done they disable that as well. Okay, are you still hearing it? I don't know, I didn't do anything. Some whistling sound.
Yes, now it's good.
Navin, one thing, main purpose of direct content is does to virtual instance move from one region to another region, or is there anything?
The main purpose of connecting is if you have a corporate data center and let me put it this way, a company is doing all their businesses offline, that is in their own data center, and suddenly they find that Amazon can provide a very good S3 storage cost and they want to store some data or videos in S3 and share it with all their employees all over the world. Then the best thing would be to do is to use a direct connect and give access to them.
Okay. You can access the outside data also in this?
Yes, if I mean direct connect is, think of it like a broadband connection to your house or anything. You can decide what to share, what not to share, because the AWS admin will have full administrative capabilities over the security group, over the NACLs attached to the interface. So you can control
Okay.
what kind of data you can share and whether you want to give internet access through direct connect or not. So you can enable internet connection, you can also disable internet connection during direct connect.
Okay.
So this is how typically the other option works. If you want to set up a VPN, what you do is you buy a Cisco or a Nokia switch, which gives you the customer gateway options. In Amazon, you create a virtual gateway. It can be your NAT gateway or anything, and there will be an IPsec tunnel will be created. Again, there is a demo probably when I find later time I can set it up and show you, but since I don't have access to a corporate data center right now, I cannot show it working. I can only show on this site right now. I will speak to some of other guys to see whether we can set up a temporary gateway and get it working to show you a demo. These two things I cannot show a demo right now, and these two things are not used quite often also. Your awareness is required, a hands-on experience will be very less, because once you set up a customer gateway and direct connect, it is going to be used for a very long time. You don't get a lot of administrative requests or a lot of new activities happening in this area a lot of times. So probably in the company, 1 or 2 guys would have actually hands-on done this. Most of the other guys will have only theoretical knowledge or even not even awareness of that knowledge. So be aware, direct connect is one option to connect your corporate data center to AWS. Another option is VPN to connect your corporate data center to AWS. And the reason I keep on stressing this is definitely one question will come here in the exams if you're writing it. So this is a very high level comparison of when to use both. Both of them allow secure connections. VPN is a pair of IPsec channels over the internet. That is the difference. Whereas Direct Connect is a dedicated line with lower per GB data transfer rate. That means that the data doesn't transfer over the internet as in VPN case. In Direct Connect, you think of it like you and your neighbor having an Ethernet cable between you and sending and receiving data. That is how Direct Connect works. It is a physical cable laid between your data center and Amazon. And there is another question on the last part. For high availability, use both. Amazon very simply puts this line and asks a lot of questions. Remember I talked about resilience, you need to create multiple cables. So Amazon says use both of them, either two direct connect connections or one direct connect and one VPN connection. So either way you have multiple resilience configured. I have seen one question, it doesn't ask for you straightforward like this as I have put it on the bottom. It says like a customer is having a direct connect and what should the customer do to increase his high availability. The options will be like create another direct connection, create a VPN connection, or do both, or none of the above, something like that. So if you see an option which says direct connect and VPN, choose that. So this is, we can look back this slide when we are looking at Route 53 because this dashboard that you see here is a dashboard for Route 53, and in a VPC so far if you remember we are getting a very big host name, something like ec2.aws.console.com, something like that. We were getting the host names. I'm just going to show that 1 second. And what private hosted zones means that is you can configure that name also to something that you like. For example, it can be kumar.example.apc, and within your VPC that domain name will work without any problems. But if you're trying to connect to the internet with that kind of a custom domain name, it might not work, it might cause confusions and errors. But within your VPC, you can create custom defined host names, anything that you like, and you can configure it. So when we are looking at the Route 53 classes, we can look into how to set this up. The one that what I'm talking about is we are in North Virginia. Let us go to Mumbai. I think you already know the host name that I'm talking about. Anyway, let me show that to you. So here you see the big ugly host name that Amazon gives you, EC2, IP address, region, and then compute, and then Amazon. Think of the ability to change something to something like myfavoritedomainname.com. Within your VPC, that will be working absolutely fine. One server can talk to another server using that domain name, and you can use your private hosted zones in VPC also. So for this one, demo will happen in Route 53 classes. Just that be aware this is possible, and remind me if you are not showing it at that time, I'll show you how to do this. So what we have talked about so long is we learned about how to set up a custom VPC, how to set up a NAT gateway, and how to do pairing of multiple VPCs. So how do I monitor what is happening inside my VPC? If somebody comes and tells you there is a performance drop in my VPC after I paired with you, or somebody says that all my traffic is consumed by this particular VPC, how do I know which IP address or where is the traffic coming from? So those kind of questions is answered by something called VPC Flow Logs. If anybody in the conventional world is aware of Wireshark, it was earlier in Windows world, Wireshark was there, and in Unix quite often people do TCP dump. If you're familiar with those two tools, think of Flow Logs as an equivalent for that in Amazon. in a very simplified terms, flow logs is nothing but all the IP addresses is all the traffic flowing through a particular network interface or a particular VPC will be logged. The source IP, the destination IP, the target IP, and everything will be logged to a file or a CloudWatch log group, we can call it. The most interesting thing is you are not going to install any agent or any client or anything on your VPC to configure this. It is absolutely agentless. You just go to your VPC dashboard and enable flow logs. And as the second point says, you can enable it at a per interface level. If you think that a particular instance or a particular interface is having trouble, you can enable it at the interface level, or you can enable it at a subnet level. Let us say your private subnet is having some problems, or your database subnet is having some problems. You can do it at that level. Or you are finding issues with your Europe VPC, then you can do it at that level also. You can collect data at a very granular level. That is what it means. And all the data is sent to your CloudWatch. That is the monitoring tool that Amazon provides. And using CloudWatch, you can trigger alarms, alerts, recovery actions, anything. Think of Tivoli monitoring or HP OpenView or any monitoring tool that you're familiar with. That is, the CloudWatch is the equivalent of those tools in the cloud. And it can do a little bit more than that sometimes. And it gives you into what ports are open, what ports are blocked. It will give you an accept reject responses in the logs. I'll just show you in the next slide, which will be more clear. This is how you set it up. I'll show you a demo also for this one. It is very simple. As you see, when you go to the Create VPC dashboard, in the bottom you'll have 3 tabs: Summary, Flow Logs, and Tags. You just go ahead and click on Create Flow Logs, and your logs will be sent to this log group, which is available in your CloudWatch. We will see that in a short while. So this is how the log actually appears. I'm just showing you how the log appears actually in the real world. So the top is all the time-based events. Each log will appear like this. It is as shown here. If you click and open on that, the detailed information is like the AWS account that you see, the first one, and the interface, and then this is the source IP, and this is the destination IP, and then what is the source port, what is the destination port. As you can see, source port is very high and the destination port is 8080, or in this case, if you can see my mouse, it is port 22. And then it gives you a rough idea what is the protocol, whether the packets are accepted or rejected, and everything was okay, the response was okay or not. I'm going to show you a demo of how to set up this VPC Flow Logs in your account. We might not be able to capture the traffic immediately. It takes some time to log it, about 15 minutes to some 1 or 2 hours, I think. I have not measured myself. I set it up yesterday. If there is any logs because of that, we can see that as well. I'm going to head over to my VPC dashboard. So I have selected VPC1, and as I showed you, there are 3 tabs in the bottom. I'm going to create flow logs for this entire VPC now. So click on Create Flow Logs. There are 2 additional informations that is required, which we need to set it up before coming here. For example, it is asking me what I want to filter, whether accept traffic or reject traffic or all traffic. I'm just going to say filter all the traffic. And it is asking me a role for flow logs. I don't have an IAM role. Why I need an IAM role? I need access to my VPC. I need access to write it to my S3 bucket, and I need to have access to my CloudWatch account also. So that I need a role here. So I don't have any role as of now. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this link which says setup permissions. I have to click on that. It is opening another new tab here. You can see. I'm going to go to that one. And because if I click on that link, it automatically picks up the necessary policy and pre-populates some of those fields instead of me trying to search for the policy. Like for example, it is come here and going to choose this option which says, see here, it gives action, logs, create log group, log stream, and all those things. It has pre-populated all those fields for me. All I'm going to say is type whether I want this role name or not. I'm going to leave the role name as it is. I'm going to click on allow. It brings me back to my IAM dashboard, VPC dashboard if you notice. So let me go back to the original dashboard I was using, the first tab. Let me go back there. So I'm going to click on role here. It's just going to refresh and pick my new role now. You can see Flow Logs role is available now. I'm going to click on that and automatically it gets added here. So next is the log group. This is the log group I created yesterday. I'm going to show you how to create your own log group. So for creating a log group, what we have to do is go to CloudWatch. We have not seen CloudWatch, I understand, but this quick step I think you should be able to follow clearly. I'm searching for services, going to CloudWatch. Okay, on the left hand side you will see a lot of options. Let us now focus only on the one which says logs. We will look at alarms, events, rules and metrics later when we look at CloudWatch in detail. As of now, we just want to store a place. Think of /var/logs for Unix team, and for Windows guys think of system events or application events. That is what we are just going to create a place where our logs are going to be created. Interesting. Go to actions and create a log group. I'm going to say log group 1 demo for flow logs. The reason I'm not deleting the previous one, which I usually do, is there might be some logs which might be able to see in this previous one. If it is not, we will have to be contented with the screenshot I had there. Okay, see the new one is picked up automatically. Log group demo for flow logs. Choose that and create a flow log. That's it, actually speaking. There is no other complicated stuff or anything and things to do here. So we have created a monitoring for our VPC now. So if we generate some traffic, probably tomorrow we will be able to see some log data there. If you want to do it at a subnet level, all you have to do is go to your subnets. Okay, and it is already selected at VPC2 subnets, and if you come down to the bottom you will see flow logs. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to say create a flow log, and I can use the same role because roles can be applied to any number of resources. And since this is going to be a different log group subnet level, I'm going to say CloudWatch and go to create log group and say VPC2 subnet flow logs demo. I'm going to click on create log group. I'm going to go back to my VPC console now. I'm going to see, as of now only 2 are there. Just go ahead and refresh it again. Just click on it. It should pick it up. Voila. Just click on create. It is done. So once you start seeing traffic, then you will be able to understand how to analyze that. I'm going to choose the first one and see whether traffic is already logged in there. No, I did not. I haven't generated any traffic here. It takes some time for your traffic to start showing here. I mean, you need to really have some at least 10-15 minutes of ping or something. You connect to it and do something on the server. Then your traffic gets logged here. Then you can look at it and the log doesn't look very much different from the screenshot that I have shown you in the presentation. It looks exactly the same. If you open the twisty, that is the small triangle on the left hand side, you will find some more information about this request, or some more information about the accept request or reject request. What you can do is you can download this or send it to your Splunk, or you can do any kind of a packet analyzer configured on top of this. Because think of this is in an S3 bucket. You can have any kind of processing on top of it, having create charts, create pie charts, or do a bandwidth measurement to see how much traffic is being sent, because you see there is a packet count also is there, and you also see that there is a byte counts is also there. So you can measure your bandwidth that is going through your particular interface or particular VPC. That is required sometimes when you're trying to buy direct connect, or if you're trying to do a budget for your storage and transfer costs. So that is what flow logs is about, and flow log analysis is. I don't have anything else to show here. This is a very broad level best practices of VPCs. Before we head that and close the classes, everybody comfortable with flow logs, what it is used for and when to use them? A quick yes, no. I'm good, not good, I need repeat class, anything? Okay, it's good to hear everybody's active today. That is really nice. So the final bit is what I have shown you on the screen. There is not much to talk about. All it says is use VPCs, use IAM roles, use network ACLs, and configure hub and spoke, or configure peering. In other words, simply said, give least privileges and accept or reject traffic only as your need is required. That is what the best practices are all about. And the first one is, as I kept saying, I don't want to repeat it, address space allocation is quite important in the cloud, because you don't want to have overlapping addresses and confusing IP addresses. If your data center in your on-premise uses 10 series, find out what is the 10 series, and when you go to cloud, try to have a continuation to the 10 series, or do a 172 or 192 series, so that you don't overlap your on-premise growth with your cloud IPs. So usually wherever I have seen people do something like allocate the first 150 or 200, or depending upon your growth, first 500 to on-premises and the next 500 to cloud, or they completely separate, saying my dev environment is going to be in 192 series, my production environment is going to be in this series, and I'm going to have a peering or some kind of another mechanism to share data instead of using IPs only to share data. So these are all logical concepts, not hard and fast rules, so you can choose and bend them as you require. So in my opinion, I think we have come to the close of today's class, and I don't have anything else to share except for waiting for your questions here.
I have one question. Actually, can we reassign or change VPC for an instance?
No,
No, right? Yeah.
I mean, I did not mean to be rude or anything. It is just not possible. The answer came very fast. It is not possible to change your VPC once it is started for that instance. In other words, the network interface is created and the network interface is associated to that VPC. Unless you delete that instance, you cannot attach it to that server again. What you can do is, let me try this, guys, once again. Let me just go back to the console. Let me bring it easy to dashboard. Oh, one second, that's an interesting question. Let me just try it. So VPC 1 instance has an IP from VPC 1, that is 182 series. So on the left hand side you see network interfaces. I'm going to choose that, and the public IP is also there in one series. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new network interface. New network interface for VPC1 instance. I'm going to choose the VPC2 subnet now. Okay, select this. I'm going to see if I can attach it. Okay, let me stop that server before attaching it. The attach option is not enabled for some reason. Oh, this one, I'm sorry. The second one, this one. Watch and attach it to running instance. You see, it just allows me to attach it to VPC2 instance, because that VPC has that is there is only one instance in VPC2, and that is the VPC2 instance, not the one instance. In other words, you cannot change the VPC server after it is restarted. You need to stop it and start it again. I hope I didn't confuse you guys.
No, I think your voice is a little missing there. Actually, what you said, like you had to stop and start, or what?
Yeah, I said you have to terminate that instance and create a new instance in the new VPC that you wanted.
Okay, okay, yeah. I have a doubt. Like, if you want to migrate some systems to different subnet, maybe sometimes
That happens.
you might have deployed everything into one subnet, and you want to separate the tiers, right? So
Yeah,
that's what I want to check. Okay.
that usually happens, Mr. Anand, using EBS volumes. You take a snapshot and you create another instance using the snapshot in the target VPC or target subnet. That is a more
Okay. Yeah.
easier option than trying to change the network interface alone. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. Okay, guys, if there is no other questions, I don't want to hold you up. This is what I wanted to share for VPC, and I'm going to consider VPC is done after as of this class. So I would like you to
Another small question.
go ahead. I think Anil is speaking. Go ahead, Anil.
Yeah. Now in this case, we have seen connecting from